There we go. Oh, folks, happy Monday. It's a little bit later in the day, but I was busy today. I was busy. I had meetings and all kinds of things going on, and but I still wanted to come live with you today. I still wanted to touch base. It's been a few since I've been on doing a Mañana no Mas morning check-in, and I'm Kurt Van Anen. I'm the host of the Mañana no Mas morning check-in, and everything else online that's Mañana no Mas. And I just really wanted to touch base today. I had a great weekend. I took the camper van out, took my son on a scout outing. We took motorcycles, guns. I mean, just had a great time shooting guns and enjoying the desert, the sunrises, the sunsets. It was amazing. And then the Boy Scouts do this wind sailing thing. They built these wind sailors with bicycle parts and sails, right, and tarps and stuff. And so they have these three-wheeled carts that they use wind power to go up and down the dry lake on, and it's really fun. It's good to see, and it's one of those family events where the Scouts invites. This is a family event, so there's daughters and wives and cousins and brothers and sisters and all these people that come out and really enjoy this moment. And so it's a good time. And with that, for me anyway, comes a clarity of thought. So when I have one of those weekends where, like, a few weeks ago, we went to Williams, Arizona. We were out at the Grand Canyon, came back again, travels. I had a clarity of thought. Last week, we went and we worked at the Mint 400. I came back from working the Mint 400 that next Monday. Again, clarity of thought. And so I talk a lot about doing something that you love that gives you a chance to recenter, a chance to balance, a chance to really just take appreciation of where you're at and what you're doing. And with that recentering comes a fresh look, or a real look. Here's something that I've noticed about myself. And this is something that I think is business related. And I wanted to put it in the Mañana no Mas morning check-in, because I'm not sure that it's just me feeling this. And so as you know, Mañana no Mas is, for lack of better terms, I would say it's a marketing type of company. Mañana no Mas really centers on business consulting to help people grow their businesses. But we use an awful lot of tools that are marketing related. So, I build membership websites. I build learning websites, right? So I can put your course online for you. There's somewhere I do public relations campaigns. There's somewhere I do social media campaigns. There's a lot of times where I bring writing to the table, and I offer either technical or influential writing to people as commercial clients. And so there's a sneeze right here. If I sneeze soon, at least I gave you a warning, right? I can feel the tickle. But those are things. So Mañana no Mas has this energy that it brings, and I like to tell people I'm a business consultant and I use communication and leadership principles to help you grow your business. That to me that's the canned answer. That's what it is. And people go, how do you do that? And then you ask some questions, right? Well, what position is your company in right now? Are you a product company or a service company? Do you have services and products? Do you have an online store? Is there something that you need to teach the masses? Is there something you need to onboard your current or future employees with? And so I go through this needs assessment group of questions, and that's the consultant part. The consultant part brings those needs assessments to the top and goes, okay, well, let's prioritize a list of these things in a way that would help you grow your business. And then we work through that. So, a lot of times people see, like, I'm doing these projects and they're like, what are these projects? And how is, like, what's the message, or how does Mañana no Mas focus its energies? Well, the focused energy is communication and leadership principles to help you grow your business, and then break out the individual tools that facilitate that. So as I'm doing that, a lot of people say, oh, well, he must be really committed to that. Kurt is committed to that. Kurt also keeps another eye open. What are other companies offering? What's the job market like? What are things that attract people? What are things that detract people? And here's something I've noticed. It used to be LinkedIn would say, here's a great job for you. Learning director at such and such a college, learning director at whatever, project manager at so-and-so. So there would be these things. And then I used to have a mindset where I would read the ad and I would go, I could do that. I could do that. I could do that. I can do that. I can do that. Okay. What are the requirements? Okay. I got that. I got that. I got that. I'm kind of close here. I don't know. That's close. Okay. Got that. And I would have this mentality that I could make it work. I could find a way to energize myself, and I could become a great candidate for that position. Now, whether I'd actually apply for that position or not was a coin toss, right? But the way that I thought about these positions as they were advertised, I would want to see, like, what are they offering? What hours? How much travel? How much, all these things. And I would kind of see, like, so how are people running and building their organizations? I would say that's probably what I'm most curious about, is how are people building their organizations? I would say it's definitely been in the last couple of months, it's really been a heightened awareness for me, but it's probably more like over the last 6 months to 9 months, I've noticed that I haven't had as much patience in reading the ad. And so from a business perspective, if you work in HR or if you have a position you're looking to fill, what does your ad read like? I'll just be honest. I don't have the patience to read all this stuff. And then I started noticing my attitude was like, I would see companies be like, you need to do this, 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 you need to do this. You need to have this much education, this much this much that, this much the other. You need to have this, you need to have this certification and this. And I started looking at these things. And even if I had that stuff, I started looking at it like, oh, they sure are asking for a lot here. What's this going to pay? And you start having this weird thing. Now, we hear a lot about this great resignation, or we hear a lot about entrepreneurs. We hear a lot about this stuff. And as I'm looking at the ads and I'm thinking about my own interpretation of them, and I'm thinking about other people that I have conversations with and their interpretations as they look, I know a lot of people without jobs right now that aren't really applying for jobs. And it seems really counterintuitive. I can remember a few years ago, man, people were like, hey, did you see this ad? Did you see this? And emailing things back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And now it's more like, if here's the thing. If I am looking at a position and it says we're looking for someone that is powerful, working in an ambiguous, undefined environment, that used to be a sign of opportunity. That used to be a sign of, I can go in there with my creativity and they're going to give me the autonomy to do what I need to do to get the job done. That's how originally I would interpret that. But now when I see that, what I look at is the leadership in this business has no idea what direction they're going in. And they're looking for someone to put in position as a scapegoat to basically take the heat when something fails. That's how I read it. Why do I read it that way? Is it the news? Is it propaganda? Is it the way media has been treating things? Is it just the idea that over the last few years, we have really come to recognize that a lot of people running our larger organizations really don't have a clue what they're doing? It's interesting to me. Is it because of the experience I had at either Ducati or Suzuki? Is it the experience I had at BRP? Like, where are these inferences coming from? And I'm interested to know what your take is on it. If you're in the job market, whether you're offering a job or you're looking to get a job, I'd love to get some comments on this. I'd love to know what you're thinking about this. I've actually written a couple of responses to people with their job ads. Like when LinkedIn says, send a message to this job poster, get your resume to the top of the stack. I've actually sent reasonable, critiques like, hey, you misspelled 3 words in your opening paragraph. If I am someone that's looking to be a director at your company and you're making spelling mistakes in the first paragraph of your job ad, that's telling me that your company doesn't pay attention to details. That's telling me that I probably don't want to put my reputation on the line and jump on LinkedIn and say, hey, I just became the new director at ABC company. So there's been things like that where I've been like, hey, this might make me sound like a jerk, but I'm just going to send this because in the end it's helpful, right? And I do it in a nice way. I don't say, hey, you're an idiot. I just say, hey, I came across your ad and I happened to notice, a few of the words were misspelled in the ad. Maybe you posted the maybe you posted the draft instead of the edited version. But in any case, I wanted to bring it to your attention, and you give people an out, that way. But to me, it's really been consuming my mind a little bit lately about what are people really expecting in the job market, people offering the jobs. Are they thinking that people are going to continue to sell out, that they're going to continue to have this internal drive to work the 55, 60, 65, 70 hours a week at mediocre pay? Folks, there is a McDonald's on the other side of my neighborhood that is starting people at $22 an hour. Now, I'm not saying I want to go work at McDonald's. That's not what I'm saying at all. But if I can go work at McDonald's and make $800 a week, $40,000 a year there, and then you want me to have this certificate, that certificate, be an exempt employee. So I'm basically ball and chain to you for 55, 60 hours a week. And you want to come to the table with $75,000, $80,000 a year. You're not going to get a lot of applications for that. You're just not. And by the time you weed them out, and by the time you're clear about your expectations and they look at what their alternatives are, they're not going to be game for it either. And I really feel for the employers in this market, because let's face facts, at least here in Southern California, if I'm running a company and I have openings for exempt full-time positions, can I really be expected to pay $115,000, $120,000 a year for all of those positions? Because realistically, if I pay that much for those positions, I have to make sure that there's a certain amount of productivity and production done for that, or there has to be enough sales on the front end of whatever the product or service is my company's representing. And quite honestly, that's where a lot of it is lost. A lot of folks are putting all this effort into saying, well, it's all sales, it's all sales, it's all sales, but they're neglecting the fixed operations side of the business. They're neglecting that you need to service the customer post-sale. And so until we begin to train and bring up people from this fixed operations perspective, help them with their communication and leadership, we really find ourselves in a hurting position growing the front end sales-wise. Right? Because we have to have a strong back end to support the front end. Folks, I went down a couple of rabbit trails there, but I would love some feedback on this one. And I don't care if the feedback's a comment here on YouTube, the replay on LinkedIn, or you hit me up with an email through the website at mañananomas.com. Some of you hit me up on there. That's cool. It all comes to me, and I really just want to know kind of what your thoughts are. I'm looking at this from a large perspective. And I look at it a lot through training, through the eyes of training. There's a really, really large recognizable brand in my area, and they continuously put up ads for a branding manager, right? We need a branding manager. And I'll see the ad go up. I actually applied once. I didn't get it. It's okay. But now that I applied and didn't get it, I keep an eye on it. And then 3 months later, they're looking for a branding manager. 3 months later, they're looking for a branding manager. So they're either using this as a position to grow people, right? Move people up through the organization, or they're treating these new people that get the job almost like a candidate application filtering process. So if that's the case, how can they justify going through, I would say over the last 2-3 years, I've seen this position posted 8-9 times. How can a company suffer the expense of hiring and filtering those people out and constantly onboarding new people? Because it's a sign that they're not training from within, right? If you hire somebody and that person is not meeting your expectations, you have a choice. You can train them, you can fire them, or I guess the third choice is you could just put up with it. And a lot of companies say, well, I don't want to invest in the training because what if I train them and they leave? But unfortunately, we're seeing the results of what if you don't train them and they stay? We see that everywhere, right? So to me, I'm real focused on the idea of training, for one, because that's a passion point for me, right? I build these training websites and help other companies with their onboarding and things like that. So to me, there's a focal point there. And I'll admit that, maybe I get a little hyper focused on that. But when I see a major company cycling through 8, 9 people through a position in 2, 2.5 years, you really have to ask yourself, like, how is there so much failure at that position? It's like when you ask somebody, they say, "Hey, you know how everybody has a hard time. You know how you have a hard time getting along with everybody." And then so they, well, everybody's a jerk. Well, if you think everybody's a jerk, maybe it's not them. Maybe it's you, right? If the company can't hire, can't find, can't source the right branding manager after 8, 9 tries, maybe it's not them. Maybe it's the expectations, the onboarding, or the training that company offers the position as they fill it. And I can't help but think those kinds of things. So again, I'm going to close out now. I would love comments on this, because I'm seeing a rash of it, a rash, like a major trend from my perspective. And part of me is wondering, like, what action I can take, or how can I add value to people, or how, could I be given training to HR people on this? Could I help people draft their ads better? Could I help people, filter the expectation process down some? But I keep thinking of these things. And when you see a trend like this, you can't help but think that there's a need. And then you go, okay, well, if there's a need, then what's the answer to the need?